Hi everyone, I am doing a special video for you guys today. I have been strongly urged this last week to record a video on spiritual awakening, signs that you may be undergoing a spiritual awakening right now, that you have been for quite some time, or that you're on the cusp of it. It's really honestly, it's not something. I mean, once you realize what's happening to you, it does kind of just happen. Like you're like, oh my god, and you have this epiphany and you realize it. But it is a very long, gradual process. So I'm just going to kind of walk through. I've got some notes here, so forgive me, but I jotted some things down and outlined because I don't want to forget to highlight some of these things. So obviously, I'm going to share the experiences, a lot of the personal experiences that I've had, um, and as well as just some other things that maybe get channeled through. I don't even know what's going to come through, but I've been on fire all day, like really intensely. My third eye, I've got some pressure, so I don't know if it's I don't know, my ears, like I've got some, just I feel like this really needs to get out. And it's interesting because Elizabeth, I don't know how you say her name, if it's Peru or Peru, but she is a very knowledgeable, very well known specialist in energy and what's going on with the planets and Earth is just ascension and all of those things. And so I really look to her for guidance quite a bit. And so here I am getting this message, strong urge. I'm like, I've got to get this video out on awakening for some reason. And then she posted like the next day about thousands of souls are set to awaken within the next couple of weeks. There's going to be this really massive shift that's been building for quite some time. So here we go. That's probably the reason why. So I guess I'll just start with, you know, a lot of the people who might be starting to undergo this. I think there's a lot of people that are sensitive to energy, right? Things are drastically shifting. I mean, the fact that I can talk about the things that I do on my page, on my Facebook page, in these videos, the fact that I can share these things, the fact that I can speak my truth. Where a year ago, when I was just starting my business, I was just starting to do posts, I was really self-conscious and not feeling that empowered. And the fact that I can talk about the things that I do and you guys support me and you don't think I'm a lunatic that needs to be committed. And you guys that know me personally, you'll still, like, you don't run and hide when you see me walking down the street or whatever. That alone tells you that things are changing. When this kind of stuff can go mainstream and it's not this, frou-frou new age weirdo crap anymore. It is, a lot of people are starting to have these experiences and know people who are having these experiences and witnessing it. And these are people, like me. For a lot of you, you went to school with me, you've known me since elementary school, and you know that I've always been grounded and stable and just studious and just very much on this path of, like, I think I was voted like teacher's pet or goody two shoes or something in high school. So anyway, I digress, but the point is things are changing. The fact that we can talk about these things and it's starting to be normal, it tells you that more and more people are experiencing it, and they're like, what's going on? And I'll get to that near the end here. But all right, so this is the subset, of the people that have been going through these things first, including myself. Some of you are probably the same way, but I never felt like I belonged anywhere. I had a very loving family, don't get me wrong, but I just never felt, I never felt like I belonged. I felt like I was older, way older than I was. I felt like I was a teenager, like in second grade. I couldn't understand why my parents wouldn't let me go see Def Leppard at Riverbend. I was in second grade. I mean, come on. But I didn't, I had friends here and there. They would come and go. I just, I honestly thought maybe like I was mentally ill as a child at times. I wondered, I would have crazy thoughts in my head. Um, I, most of my nights would consist of laying in my bedroom. I mean, mind you, we're talking when I was like first, second, third grade. Um, this is not normal behavior for a child, I don't think. But I would lie in my bedroom. I would blast music, um, and I would cry. I would cry and cry and cry constantly because I was longing for something that I didn't know what. My soul was just like it, I was lost. I was lost most of my life. And so that led to codependent relationships. When I finally did get a boyfriend, the first guy that would, pay attention to me. Um, and I got a boyfriend. It's like I stayed with somebody who's a very good person, but just, I wasn't really in love. I didn't want to be alone. And so I latched on to that. That's a common thing too. If you're on this path, you you either get in codependent relationships with others, or there's always some sort of external source of something outside of you, because you feel separate and you're unawakened, so to speak. This is why we're talking about a spiritual awakening. Your soul like is crying out and knows there's home, there's somewhere else, but you don't remember, and there's a purpose for not remembering. And I don't know if I'll get into all that in this video or not, but there's a purpose for all of that. You're here on a mission to wake up, to shed all of these things, and to help humanity remember who it's who we are. Okay, and I'll get into that as well. But you get into codependent relationships. Many people turn to substance abuse, drugs, alcohol, maybe promiscuous sex, any kind of vice, anything that numbs the pain. And you seek something outside of yourself because you just feel like you don't belong. You're trying everything, you're lost. Let's see, I always felt like I always wanted to do more. um, like I just felt like, yeah, I'm a lawyer and I'm successful, but there was just something missing and I didn't know what it was. Okay, so um, a lot of you, I was bullied extensively in high school, some in middle school. Like I said, friends, like I was getting abandoned, feeling rejected, not feeling um, desirable, from the boys in school. So I had all of those wounds. And for the most part, I had, a wonderful childhood. I was very lucky. And in any kind of family dynamic, sometimes the mother and daughter have a difficult relationship, or there's tension, things like that. But I didn't have anything horrific happen, at least that I consciously remember, and definitely not with my parents. But there are many of you that are watching this video that probably suffered some sort of sexual trauma, sexual abuse, physical abuse, emotional abuse, from a parent or both, one or both parents. Um, if you are meant to awaken in this life and you're on this spiritual path, it's 99% sure you had some sort of difficult family dynamic. You had something traumatic happen in childhood. You had to grow up sooner than you would have. You either were, wise beyond your years and older already, or by default you had to become that, based on your circumstances, your family circumstances. You probably were always very sensitive, empathic towards other people. I know. I mean, I could just never understand. I never understood, even as a child, why it was so hard to get along with. Like, why I'm not hard. I'm not hard to get along with. And I guess in some ways, I would avoid conflict, and I would see that now. But like, I just never understood the purpose. I mean, conflict is healthy to talk about things, but just to pick at people, to be mean to people, to be spiteful, to not empathize. I've struggled my whole life to just be like, why can't people just get along? Why is this so hard? I'm a nice person. I'm being nice to you. You be nice to me. Like, I never could understand it. And I would just be very, very sensitive, to handicapped children or things like that. Even when I was in elementary school, where I would see people suffering, I would just cry, and it would just really affect me. So if there's a lot of that, that you've had and experienced, those are signs that you're, again, on this path, and that you're opening up to that. For me, I never identified with organized religion ever. I thought most of the people, when I would go to church with my friends from school and their families, I just felt like it was fake. I felt like the people were fake. They were judgmental. Even as a child, I picked up on that. I just never felt comfortable. I never felt like it was love. I never felt that it was what they were, I felt like they were instilling fear. It's like, if you don't do this, if you don't do what we say, you're going to hell. And you better get saved. You better get saved, because you don't do what we say, but you're going to go to hell. And I knew deep down, okay, I definitely believe in, that back then and now believe in Jesus and angels and all of those things, but I just knew there was something more, and this just didn't jive with me. If God loves you, why should you be afraid? Why are you instilling fear in me? And then ask for money. Oh yes, we need money. We need your money. We need your money. I knew right away, and I'm not trying to turn this into a bashing of organized religion, because there are definitely some churches and people who are genuine, true light bearers, and they can be both. You can go to church and you can be on the spiritual path. It's just that whole scene never jived with me. Okay, I knew there was something more. I didn't know what. I just was always kind of open, right? Identified myself as spiritual. So without getting into all of these things, I mean, I, in my 20s, started going to psychics. And when things were, pinpointed and predicted, and this one woman in particular, she told me that I was able to do these things. And she's like, you have these gifts too. And I'm like, no, I don't. I didn't believe it. But we'll get to that here in a few minutes. But so over the years, I started opening myself up more to that, and discovered a lot of tools along the way. But if you're starting to notice signs and synchronicities, okay, I talk about that on my page a lot. The big one, the first one, it's the awakening code, 1111. If you see 1111 on clocks, license plates, receipts, if you're just starting to notice, okay, that, not just that number, that's the big one. That's usually the first one that you start seeing all the time. But if you start seeing 1111, you might start seeing someone's birthday that's significant to you. You might start seeing that all the time, your own birthday, okay? The time you were born. You might start seeing 144. 144 for me, if you're one of the light bearers, that number just resonated. You'll see a lot of repeating numbers, okay? 777, 444, 222. You'll see mirroring numbers, 313, 414. All of these, and different ones. There's, all of them have different meanings. But that is it's trying to get your attention, okay? For you to start noticing that there's patterns. Everything is energy, and it's like you start noticing. Oh, and the more you notice it, and the more you're like, oh, I don't think that's random. I think that might be a message. You start getting more, right? Once you open yourself up and you tap into that, you start getting more of these types of things happening. For example, when I went through my second divorce. And it was extremely painful, and I'll get to that here in a bit, but I somehow, by the grace of God, not random, I was able to get back in the apartment building, the same apartment building that I lived in prior to that marriage, with the best landlord, the location I love, and all of these things. And I noticed, I was like, wait a minute, and it dawned on me before I moved in. I said, oh my God, this is apartment A, isn't it? And I realized that the prior apartment I lived in was D, which was the initial, the first initial of the guy that I had left back in when I moved in here. I left that relationship, an unhealthy relationship, moved out on my own, and that was his initial. And then A was my soon-to-be ex-husband's initial. And in the darkest time, it just, something clicked, and I was like, this is, and I had been seeing numbers like for 2 years. The numbers were exploding everywhere. But I was like, this is a sign that I'm on the right path. Because I couldn't understand at the time why I was going through, I never thought I'd go through a second divorce. I never thought I would be, how old was I at the time? 36, 37? No kids, starting all over, and just absolutely decimated, right? And every aspect of my being was decimated. But something gave me comfort, and I was like, that's not random. I was in D on that part of my journey. Now I'm on A. I'm back where I want to be with this landlord that I trust. Everything's working out. This is happening for a reason. And so once I opened myself up to that, the numbers I was noticing, everything just took off from there. Okay. So, you'll start noticing, and around that time that happened too, your soul family, your tribe, your soul tribe, you're starting to meet people who you have deep connections with that you can't explain. It's past life, it's other world. it goes beyond. They're in many cases closer than blood relatives. And I'm not saying that that's the case for me. I'm very close to my family, very close. So I'm very blessed that I have my traditional family and I have a soul family. A sister. Truly, people ask us if we're sisters. We go everywhere together, and she's moving in here in my building. So excited about that. But soul parents. I've you guys know I've told the twin flame story. All these people came into my life 2 years ago, right? No, wait, 3 years ago. It was 3 years ago. 3 years ago, fall of 16. Yeah, when all this really started taking off for me. So you start noticing that you're like, these people come into your life. So, and if you're wanting to start exploring spirituality, obviously if you're watching this video, this is clearly you are. Oracle cards, those types of things. You're maybe having vivid dreams, lucid dreaming, astral experiences, out of body experiences, things, you're on fire all the time. You feel energy. Sometimes you might feel energy literally vibrating. You start noticing the energy. If you pick up crystals, you start feeling and noticing the vibration, right? Because your vibration's raising and those types of things start happening. I've had feathers. I'll have a thought, or say something during this time. This was like 2 years ago now, was when I was really going through the awakening, at the height of it. But I would have a thought like, this is happening because of blah blah blah, and it like feathers would just literally come out of nowhere, hit me in the face, fall at my feet. So you start having very concrete communication from your guides, the more you tap in. All right, so now that we're 16 minutes in, I'm going to go through, the physical symptoms, the physical things that you may experience. When you're going through a spiritual awakening, it starts at the bottom chakra, the root chakra, and it works its way up, okay? The chakras are associated with different colors. So I have crystals here representing each one just to show as visual, and they felt like they wanted to be here. Yeah. So the root chakra represents your foundation, your finances, your home, your stability, your security. And for most people, that in some manner gets completely shattered and obliterated. You go through what's called the dark night of the soul. Something catastrophic happens. And, for me, it was my second divorce, which I never, ever in a million years dreamed would ever happen to me. And I wanted to try. I wanted to work on things, and it was just like, nope, bye, see ya. Now, it's totally everything. I'll get to that too. Everything happened, and I'm thankful for everything I learned. And he and I, are completely, friends, and everything's good. But at that time in my life, it completely destroyed me. So the root chakra, I think this is red coral. No, red color, calcite. Sorry, I think I do have a coral stone. But anyway, red is the root chakra. It's your foundation. You might lose a job. You might lose your home. You might have someone close to you pass away. You might have your car stolen. You might have your car break down, and you don't have transportation. Something big happens, and it just completely, it's like trying to wake you up, and like you have to hit rock bottom, right? And literally for me, like during this time, not only did I like emotionally and spiritually, like my soul was just ripped apart, my foundation, everything, I was like starting over. I also shattered my tailbone. I was packing and like and had socks on and was going down the basement stairs, and I fell. And I'm telling you, it's been 3 years and it still freaking hurts at times. Like I can't sit, completely shattered. And looking back now, I'm like, that was like my root chakra boom. Like that was what started it. It was September 3 years ago. Okay, so something like that happens. You have the dark night of the soul. Okay, sacral chakra, moving up. It is your sexual drive, your sexual organs. It's associated with orange. I believe this is calcite as well. Yeah. So, I'm trying to think back to what exactly I had happened during that time. For me, you guys know I overshare, I share everything, but I figure, I'll be real, and it might help you. I was always, back then, like highly sexual person. So I started, my way of coping at the time with a lot of the pain was I became extremely sexual, was, dating a bunch of guys and like just stupid things. And a very primal, energy that was kind of taking over. And it didn't make me feel good emotionally, obviously. And I got to this point, and you will, like if you're going through this, you get highly sexual or you withdraw your energy, and you start realizing that the sexual energy is sacred, and that it's not to be, you just kind of decide, oh, this is something I want to hold on to. I'm going to harness this myself. For women, for myself, I do remember having very weird cramping, like deep, like womb activations, like just pain, like the cramping and the things that I had going on during my cycle were very different than anything I'd ever had happen before. So this was all like the root chakra stuff happened in the fall of 16. And then I remember noticing like the cramping and like all the weird, when I finally started like unleashing my sexual energy, that was like that was like late spring, summer of 17. And then by summer, by July 4th, I was like, yeah, no, I'm not doing this anymore. And then I started having, once I decided I was going to hold on to that, that's when I started having the cramping. It was kind of like, okay, you're ascending now. You can do this. Right in the midst of that, I started noticing, I was starting to see things from a higher perspective. I was in the process of forgiving my ex-husband. Our divorce was final by then. I was forgiving him slowly, and I was starting to realize that I was happier on my own. I was starting to realize that, I didn't understand why it had happened, but I knew that there was this knowing, kind of like something big is happening, right? Something's in my life, is something big's happening. So once I started having these kind of epiphanies, realizations, tapping into oracle cards, communicating with my guides, I started having light bulbs go out like crazy. And I mean, one time, I'm not kidding you guys, one freaking shattered. Like it shattered, and I don't even know how. Like, and thank God my cats weren't in the room. I just walked in. I don't think I'd even, it was off. And I noticed, like, I went to turn it on, and there was like no bulb. It was like this piece of shard sticking out and everywhere, like all over. I was like, the hell? You start having electronic stuff, weird things like, my AC went out in my apartment, and literally, like, it went out and then they fixed it and then it went out again and then it exploded. It actually, I mean, there was no fire in it, but nobody got hurt. But I'm realizing now, I'm like, yeah, I don't think that was the AC. I think it was my energy that was, yeah, that happened. I had all kinds of just stuff like that. But the bulbs, if you notice, light bulbs flickering a lot, going out, if you're replacing light bulbs more often than normal, that's definitely a sign that you are your energy, you're ascending. So, and I don't know if I said this earlier, but when I said it goes up the chakras, what's happening is the Kundalini that's at the base, it's this energy, and it's starting to awaken. Okay, and it's starting to go slowly clear out all this negative energy. Okay, it's a slow process, and it starts at the root, goes to the sacral, and then next the solar plexus. The solar plexus is yellow. It's your power. It's your fears, confidence, those types of things. It also will affect your bathroom habits, and I remember just, I mean, it's just crazy because like I felt really, really good. But like your habits will change. You'll be like going like all day, like all hours of the night, you might have to get up and go to the bathroom, which is completely abnormal. Things that are abnormal for you. You just know something, I'm kind of like my body clearing, like I wasn't eating differently. I had no idea. And then sometimes I would be really, really hungry. Sometimes I wouldn't want to eat at all. Sometimes I'd have to wake up in the middle of the night. I'm still doing that now. It doesn't really go away. I hate to break it to you. But so yeah, the solar plexus, you just start noticing changes in what your bodily functions are. I also started noticing my tastes would change. Like things, for example, yeah, this was 2 years ago. I've never been a fan in my life of barbecue. Like barbecue sauce was something I would like. If somebody wanted to make barbecue chicken, I'd be like, oh, just make me plain, please. I don't want that. I started making barbecue like chicken. Like I'd make chicken in the crock pot and make barbecue. I don't know where that came from, but like my taste changed. I eat that all the time. I ate it this morning. I make it on breakfast. I put on breakfast potatoes, like with avocado and turkey, and I just love barbecue now. I don't know where that came from. So you just change things that you like or don't. Some things are heavy over time gradually. Like I don't eat pork or beef anymore. I'm not saying I never will again, but I haven't since May. So we'll see what happens. During all this time, as well as it was working its way up, I started having what I call ascension flu. I would have these weird bouts of something. Like I would be pretty tired. And of course, I was on fire a lot. I would wake up in the middle of the night, usually between 2 and 4 a.m. You'll wake up and you'll just be on fire. You can't sleep. Like, what the heck's going on? Your energy's all over the place. So, ascension flu, I never really felt horrible, but like I would be coughing up blood. Okay, my throat would be on fire. I would cough up blood. I felt like I had a fever. Um, but that happened the morning of Art Ball 2 years ago when I went to Art Ball. I was coughing up blood that morning. I'm like, oh my God. But it never progressed. I was able to, I mean, I was kind of glowing. That was the first day I really noticed I was glowing. Um, you have those weird things that, and again, if you have these things happening, if you're coughing up blood and your throat hurts, I mean, you know, if you don't, I just knew, right? I just knew something profound was happening. And I myself, I have not taken antibiotics in 10 years. I get, if I get sick, I just fight it off. I think antibiotics destroyed my body. That's why I can't eat gluten now and all these other things. It caused a host of issues. So I don't take antibiotics. So there's no need for me to go to the doctor unless I'm like on my deathbed. But I'm not advocating to just ignore these symptoms, okay? But again, it never progressed. Had it progressed and I had gotten really, really sick, I would have checked it out. But so I had that going on and off. Then, okay, heart chakra, green, malachite. I never ever get heartburn, ever. Never have, unless there's something weird going on. And I started getting heartburn pretty badly. And like I said, my stomach, like my appetite, it's like I would eat and I would just get just horrible heartburn. I was belching a ton. My heart hurt. It physically hurt. I'd have palpitations. I would be short of breath. Like I'd be exercising and I would just be like, and I don't smoke. I've never smoked in my life. There were times I was kind of like, maybe I should get this checked out because something weird's going on. And I think by that point, I think I had actually realized that I was going through. I think by the point that it got to that point, I think I was guided to Spiritual Awakening somehow on Facebook and looked up articles and I found it. So yeah, so that all started. I started being more open, forgiving, realizing like I just had this excitement, like that I knew something big was happening. Then it moved up to the throat, which is associated with blue. This is kyanite. This works wonders for clearing chakras. I actually feel like I might need to do that today. I have a pendant. You can actually wear it around your neck. I may actually just put it on here. But if you wear it over your heart, it'll help clear out those things. Of course, sore throat, scratchy throat, cough. You might lose your voice. Those types of things. You might feel this need to speak your truth more than you ever have before. But you definitely, you feel like you have congestion in your throat when that starts to awaken and come out. Then it moves up to your third eye, right here. Purple amethyst. This is associated with your intuition, with your knowing. And once it hit up there, I'm telling you, some of the worst headaches I've ever had in my life, and they were different than anything I've ever had. Like when I get migraines, they're usually on, one on my temple, or they feel like different. And it just was this pressure, this deep pain when it was opening, and it was horrible. Finally, and at some point, this doesn't necessarily happen to everybody, but at some point when you start realizing what this is and what's happening, your crown chakra is up here and it connects you to source, to God. And it's associated with white or clear. So this is a crystal quartz cluster. Hopefully we're gonna run out of time here. But I experienced what's known as the Kundalini awakening, and it happened in my sleep. It woke me up from my sleep. And I was vibrating, like my head, I thought I had crystals under my pillow and I thought they were vibrating, but I realized quickly it was my head, and it was shaking so violently that my teeth were chattering. It was the most euphoric yet painful feeling I've ever experienced. It was almost unbearable, like my whole spine, everything. And finally, when I thought I can't take anymore, oh my God, I can't do this. Like I don't know how long it lasted. It stopped. But it was so strong that my poor cat, who was sleeping next to me, he defecated in the, like he puked and he shit in the bed. That's how strong, like it was just, I don't even know what to explain what happened. But that doesn't necessarily happen to everybody, and you don't want to force it to happen, okay? But I would just say if you're going through these things and it's progressing up, just know it's clearing out the negative energy. And you may want to get a crystal if you've got one that's particularly bad. For example, the heart. If you got the heart, the pyramid is a really accelerator energy. You can hold this over your heart, meditate with it, and it'll help draw out whatever needs to come out so that maybe those symptoms will subside. There are meditations you can do on YouTube, music, frequencies associated to each chakra, those types of things. Not everybody necessarily will have the Kundalini awakening like I did. At some point you might. I'm not exactly sure, I'll be honest, what happens, if the energy goes up, you're still clearing those things out, okay? And you just got to be open. And it, trust me, and it comes, like, once that happened to me, I thought, oh, I'm done. No, I mean, the more you start ascending, these energy waves come in. There are times I've been bedridden, with third eye pain, with, the heart stuff still happens sometimes, not as often, but it's more the third eye, and it's more up in the respiratory. Like my ears will get clogged or my third eye will hurt. Sometimes now, if it does that, I know that a message needs to come through. So I just would recommend keeping your energy clear. Let's see. I went through all that without even having my notes. You might notice too that you have a desire to be alone. Your things that you enjoy change. For me, I really haven't watched TV in years, other than football. And you guys can see I've got my Houday on. But yeah, right now I think it's like, yeah, it's 1:30 and there's games on, and I'm kind of like, I don't care. I'm really not into that anymore. I'm really not into sports. I'm not into really any of that stuff. I'm more into connecting with nature, right? You want to be outside. If you're going through this process, it's critical that you get out in nature as much as possible. You need to ground yourself. Black crystals help immensely with that. Black tourmaline is my favorite. It's absolute badass. It's the most badass crystal, I think. It wards off negative energy. It helps draw some of that out. It's good for grounding. Apache tears are good for getting grief out. Put your feet in the grass. Put your feet in the earth as much as you can. Just get out in nature. It was essential for me to do that when I was going through this process, and still at times, but especially at the beginning. You've got to find a way to harness that energy and imagine like your feet anchoring down deep into the earth, and there's like a cord of light holding you and then like anchoring you up. That'll help a lot. But you just find that some of your friends fall away, some of your family things, like I said, your soul family comes in. Some people in your family, or your friends, you don't resonate with them anymore, and that's okay. That's okay. You need to do what your soul wants you to do, right? What does it mean? Okay, let's go through this so I don't run out of time here. Okay, so what does it mean, the spiritual awakening, right? We were asleep, meaning that we've been told our whole lives that we're separate from God, that God is a bearded man in the sky looking down at us, wanting to punish us. And if you don't listen to the pastor who has all the answers, or whoever it is, the political leaders, whoever the elite are, you're separate from source. You're not a co-creator. You're not powerful. We're taught those things from all, the way. And a lot of children, come out and they're so innocent, and a lot of them are intuitive. They're connected to source, right? They're just pure divine love. And when does that change? It's like all this negative programming, the news and society, and your girls do this and boys do this, and this is the way we behave, and if you don't have money, you can't do anything. There's just this whole like, there's just a complete disconnect, and I could go on and on, but it's a patriarchal society, that God is man. You start realizing that God is energy and love, pure divine love, white light. We are all beings of light. Everybody knows our souls are, souls are, we're more than just this body, okay, and the spirit. Our souls are energy, and everything in the universe is energy, right? Everything in the world is energy. So then I could go on, but separation is an illusion. We all have divine gifts. And many of us are waking up to that. I never believed that lady a few years ago who told me I could do these things. And I'm telling you all right now, you can too. I never would have believed it 3 years ago, even 2 years ago. The things that I've experienced, the messages, the fact that at the end of the day, okay, we're all one. We're all one. We're one consciousness. The creator is, obviously way ascended. Jesus is an ascended, they're called ascended masters. Jesus, um, is the return of Christ. I mean, I could go on, but Christ consciousness is what is embodying this earth right now. It's coming through. Um, it's all about love. That's at the end of the day, love is everything and energy is everything. And we can tap into that. It's all around us. Okay, so I'm going on this rant, and I don't want to run out of time, but we can co-create with God. I've said that God is love. There's masculine and feminine energy in both of us, yin yang. Where did all these things come from, you guys? I mean, you've heard of all these concepts. There is a masculine and feminine component to everything. And so when you're waking up, you start realizing the goal is to get in balance and with that. And you do that by going within, connecting with God, tap into the magic. You ask for signs, dreams, use oracle cards, meditate, get out in nature. And I said earlier, the more you start experiencing these things, the less that you're living in your head, and the less you're like, what do I do? I don't know. I mean, how do you agonize over making a decision? What do I do? What do I do? And it's like, I used to live in that fear. You don't, once you awaken and you realize, oh my God, you have these gifts, you can connect, you're being guided, and you have control over this process as well. You have control over your life. You don't live in fear anymore. And when you don't live in fear and you realize fear is an illusion, you can live in joy. You can look at things from a higher perspective. You can forgive more easily. You start realizing, not why is this happening to me? Why do these things happen to me? No, what is it trying to show me? You start seeing the lesson in every experience. And once you learn the lessons, you move on and you close out that karma and you keep ascending and you keep growing and realizing the magic in this life and to experience joy just in everyday things. It's unbelievable when your eyes are opened to the way the illusion and the fear that we've been succumbed to like our entire lives. Let me see if I can. And if you're going through this, rest, hydrate, supplement. I posted about silica the other day. Clear your energy, definitely. Do these chakra clearings. There's a Doreen Virtue meditation on YouTube. I've posted it several times, but it's chakra clearing Doreen Virtue. There's a night one and a morning one. That will help. So I feel like I'm rushing this. I don't want to get cut off. But what does it mean, if you're going through these things? Also, it's important to acknowledge it, welcome it, and be thankful for it. Because if I know when I was going through this, I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe my throat chakra is messed up again. This sucks, blah, blah, blah. No, and I was, now that I'm like excited about it and I'm like, okay, I'm getting another activation. You acknowledge it, you clear your energy, you welcome it, and it's like it doesn't affect you as much anymore. There's still some times, I have to lay in bed and but once you realize the things that are happening on this planet right now, it's amazing. Okay. And there's nothing that can be done to stop it. Nothing. It's energy. God is pummeling us with energy right now. And if you're watching this and this is resonating, then know that you're being touched by God. God is all around and everything. And it's just important to, again, clear your energy, do what resonates. And if that means, friendships fall away, if that means jobs fall away, if that means you want to pursue your passions, you're waking up for a reason. And everybody has different gifts to share. Everyone. You might be a healer. You might be psychic. You might be a writer. You might, be able to help people with your words. You might be able to do YouTube videos like I'm doing. You might be able to just, massage or just counsel people. Just be a light. Just spread joy. Just don't take things personally, and just spread your light every day. And the more that you embody that joy, and you yourself have a beautiful life, and you don't live in fear anymore. And so when you do that, it just spreads to those around you. You become a magnet, and your light attracts. It can attract bad things, but that's why you protect your energy, you clear your energy. But you start realizing when you see tangible differences in your family, your friends, people becoming more intuitive, people growing, changing. It's just beautiful. So I just want to thank you guys for listening. If you have any questions about anything I've talked about and you would like to see another video on that topic, comment below, private message me, and maybe I'll be able to make it happen. So thanks again for your support, everybody. Take care.